Hey everyone, ready to supercharge your vocabulary?
Yeah, we're going deep on vocabulary expansion today.
Yeah, and this isn't your typical vocab lesson, okay? Like we're talking about moving way beyond just memorizing those lists of words, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to pull out some pretty surprising stuff from a podcast episode all about how to expand your vocabulary effectively. So get ready, because we're going to bust some myths.
Yeah.
And give you the tools to seriously level up your language game.
You know, it's so interesting to me how people think that a bigger vocabulary is just about sounding smart.
Right.
But in reality, it goes way deeper than that.
For sure.
So a richer vocabulary, it really means better communication. You know, it means sharper writing, and it even means being able to absorb complex information more easily.
It's like giving your brain a processing upgrade.
Exactly.
And speaking of upgrades, the podcast that we're diving into today, it debunks a huge myth right away.
Oh, yeah.
Just memorizing word lists is a total waste of time.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
So what did they say?
The hosts of that podcast, they shared some interesting stories about their own struggles with vocabulary.
Okay.
And they found that memorizing just doesn't work.
Interesting.
What does work is encountering words naturally.
Oh.
Like through reading, listening, and conversation.
I see.
So context is key.
Yeah.
But simply reading more isn't exactly a groundbreaking strategy.
No.
What else do they recommend that might actually surprise us?
Well, they talked about how it's really important to read diverse material.
Okay.
So, like, think beyond novels, you know?
Yeah.
Like, look at articles, blogs, scientific journals, poetry, because each genre has its own different writing style and vocabulary.
Oh, that's true.
And that helps you not only understand better, but also to remember.
It's about expanding the scope of your reading then, not just the quantity.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense. But what happens when we run into a word we've never seen before? Are we stuck just looking up words in the dictionary forever?
Well, not really. They actually recommend trying to figure out the meaning from the context.
Ah, I see.
It's like a little puzzle.
Yeah.
And even if you're wrong, when you try to figure out the word, it helps you remember it better.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like you're turning vocabulary into a game.
Exactly.
It's like those guess the word puzzles, but with real benefits.
Exactly.
It's also talked a lot about conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I've always felt like I learn new words just from talking to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Conversations, especially with good speakers, are like gold mines for vocabulary.
Right.
And they even said that watching movies and TV shows in English can help a lot.
Right, interesting.
Especially for picking up slang. And you know those expressions you don't find in textbooks?
Okay, so movie night is officially educational now.
It is.
But let's be real for a second. We can't always just wait to bump into new words.
Right.
Are there any like tools or techniques that we can use to be more deliberate, you know, about expanding our vocabulary?
For sure. And the podcasters had some really cool ideas about this.
Okay.
They got into flashcards and language learning apps.
Right.
They mentioned a bunch like Anki Quizlet, Duolingo Memorize, and WordUp.
I've heard of a few of those.
Yeah.
They use that space repetition thing, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading about that somewhere.
Space repetition basically spaces out when you review new words.
Okay.
So you see them again and again, but over longer times.
Got it.
And that helps move them from short-term to long-term memory.
Right.
And those apps do it automatically for you.
So it's like setting reminders for your brain.
Yeah.
To refresh those words before they disappear.
Exactly.
Pretty clever.
Yeah.
But even with all these fancy tools,
right,
isn't there a risk that we just passively absorb information without really using it?
Yeah.
Like I can recognize a word when I see it, but actually using it in my writing or when I'm speaking, that's a whole other thing.
That's a really good point, and the podcasters talked about that specifically.
Okay.
They emphasized that it's important to actively use new words.
Gotcha.
Both in writing and speaking.
Okay.
It's not enough to just know a word.
Right.
You have to own it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So writing makes you think about how to use those new words, and speaking makes you recall them quickly.
Exactly.
You know what, though?
Yeah.
Sometimes I get nervous using fancy words in conversations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like what if I mess it up and sound pretentious?
I see.
You know.
They had a really simple tip for that.
Okay.
Teach the word to someone else.
Oh, wow.
When you explain something to another person, you break it down in your own words, and it helps you understand it better and feel more comfortable using it.
So if you can teach it, you really know it.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, did they talk about how to make learning vocabulary a habit.
Yeah.
Something that we keep doing and not just like a one-time thing, because consistency is really important.
Absolutely.
For any skill.
The podcasters were big on making it a daily practice.
Okay.
They suggested learning just one new word each day.
1 word a day?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty doable.
It is.
Even for busy people.
Right. And think about it. That's like 365 new words you learn in a year.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
It really adds up.
It's not about cramming then.
No.
It's about slow and steady progress.
Exactly.
But it seems like it could get boring.
Right.
Just looking at flashcards and word lists every day.
Yeah.
How do we make it more fun?
That's where you get creative.
Okay.
The podcaster said that it's super important to make learning enjoyable.
Right.
They said you could use games or quizzes or even interactive websites. It's like sneaking in the practice while you're having fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off.
Right.
It's like the difference between a boring lecture and a good conversation.
Exactly.
Did they have any other tips for staying motivated?
Yeah, they said to celebrate the small wins.
Oh, okay.
Like when you learn a new word, acknowledge it.
Right.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And it keeps you going.
Because every new word is like a step forward.
Exactly.
You become a better communicator.
Right.
It's like leveling up your language skills 1 word at a time.
Exactly. And as you keep learning more words, you'll start to see the bigger picture.
Okay.
You can express yourself more clearly, understand complex ideas, and even connect with the world around you in a deeper way.
It sounds pretty transformative.
It is.
What about those times when we get stuck, though?
Yeah.
When we feel overwhelmed?
Oh, yeah.
Did they talk about that?
Yeah, they said that you shouldn't try to learn too many words at once.
Oh, okay.
It's better to focus on quality over quantity.
Right.
Learn a few words really well.
Got it.
Before moving on.
Like building a muscle, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't try to lift a ton of weight on your first day at the gym. You gotta start small.
Exactly. And just like any skill you're learning,
right?
It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to mess up a word. The important thing is to learn from it and keep practicing.
It's that growth mindset thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that learning is a journey.
Exactly.
It never really ends.
It's about enjoying the process and celebrating your progress.
I'm feeling really inspired to improve my vocabulary now.
Yeah.
So before we wrap things up,
right.
Are there any other key takeaways from this episode?
Absolutely. They gave a great summary.
Okay.
First, remember that expanding your vocabulary has so many benefits. It's not just about sounding smart.
Right.
It's about communicating better, improving your reading and writing.
Yeah.
And it can even help you in your career.
It's like a Swiss Army knife for success.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else?
Second, don't just memorize words without context.
Okay.
And don't forget to actually use those new words you learn. Remember, active use is key.
So it's not just about knowing the words.
No.
It's about making them a part of your everyday language.
Exactly.
Okay, what's number 3?
Third, try different learning methods.
Okay.
To make it more fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Read different things, listen to podcasts, watch movies, have conversations.
Got it.
The more you mix it up, the better.
It's like surrounding yourself with language.
Exactly.
What about tools?
Oh, yeah. Number 4, don't forget about flashcards and apps.
Right.
They can make things a lot easier and more enjoyable.
It's like having your own personal vocabulary coach.
Exactly. And lastly, don't forget about consistency.
Okay.
Even a few minutes each day can make a big difference over time.
Small steps lead to big results.
Exactly. And most importantly, have fun with it.
For sure.
Learning should be enjoyable, not a chore.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
We've got all these great tips
We do.
to help you become a more confident and articulate communicator.
Right.
But before we finish up this deep dive, I have one last question for all of you. What's one word that you'll learn today? Just take a second, think about it. Maybe write it down.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling brave, share it with us.
Oh, yeah. We'd love to hear it.
You know, we're all about building a community of word nerds here.
We are.
Your word might inspire someone else to start their own vocabulary journey.
It could.
We're all learning and growing together.
We are.
And you know something? The podcast we talked about today, it really made me realize that expanding your vocabulary, it's not just about adding words to a list.
No.
It's about unlocking a whole new level of understanding and expression.
It really is.
It's about being a better communicator, a smarter thinker,
Yeah.
and a more engaged person.
It's like opening up new pathways in your brain.
Yeah.
Start connecting ideas in ways you never thought of before.
Well, everyone, that's a wrap for our deep dive into vocabulary expansion.
That's it.
We hope you got some good ideas and strategies.
Yeah.
And that you're feeling excited about the power of language
And remember, this is just the start.
Right.
Learning language never really stops.
It does.
There's always something new to discover.
Yeah.
Some little detail to explore.
Right.
Some word that perfectly describes a feeling you didn't even know you had.
Exactly.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep your dictionary close by.
You got it.
You never know when you'll find a new word that'll take you on an amazing adventure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing, everyone.